What is happening, y'all? My name's Zach.
I'm Jen.
And we're Stivers Homestead. So this past weekend was a blast for us. We had a lot of things happening. We went on a hike.
Yeah.
So we decided to hike a local area up to a place where we could be in all 3 states at once. And that was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. The trail was fun, but it was a little bit difficult. So
yeah, a couple spots.
Something we haven't talked about is that we are working up to a big goal for our family, a big backpacking trip.
Yeah.
So to do that, we have to practice and we have to get used to it. Mainly the kids, because they have never hiked long distances before, only short. So yeah, we started practicing this weekend and it went really well.
It did go really well. I think the kids, though, overestimated how much stuff they needed.
Yes.
Because they wanted to take their backpacks, and then I had ours, of course, that had, you know, some first aid stuff, water, and never know. You got to be safe, but you want to be able to take care of something was to happen. Well, they decided to pack their bags with stuffed animals and all this stuff. So at one point I was carrying 3 backpacks. So next time I think we'll learn that lesson. But my goodness, the stories that we had, there were so many. We actually shared them on our live last night. So if you're not catching those, that's where we get into more storytelling and not dragging things on a video. So make sure you're joining those lives.
Yeah.
But other than that, my mom came by. It was her birthday, so we had a little birthday celebration with her. And then we had home inspection on the White House.
Yes.
We had mentioned that we're under contract with that house. So we're inspections, appraisal times, going into underwriting. So all the motions are going for us to own the White House soon.
Yeah.
That's a gutter.
I think probably our most asked question is, does anybody live in the White House and what are you going to do with it? Are you going to buy it? Nobody does live there. And yeah, we're almost to the point where it's ours. Hopefully that all goes smoothly. Second time buying a house in less than a year.
Yeah.
Is interesting.
A lot less stressful this time.
Yes, a lot less stressful. And we're just really excited about it. We're excited to have that in motion and almost done.
Yeah, and the main reason we're buying it, as you all can tell, we don't want someone living behind us. We'd have to share the driveway. And with us having all the animals, that just wouldn't work out real well for our situation. So that's why we're buying it. What are we going to do with it? It's still TBD. We'll wait and see. There's definitely stuff that we want to do to it first before we really think about anything. But in the interim, when people come visit, they'll have a place to stay in. That's pretty sweet. Yes. The funniest thing in these like 3 shots is our height has changed so dramatically. We're like on the we're doing it on the sidewalk so the camera doesn't fall over, but that puts like one of us up and one of us down. Just hilarious. So today's video, we wanted to recap y'all, kind of give you a weekend in review on what was going on and catching you up, because the weekends we really kind of take some time off from filming. That allows us to make sure that we don't get burned out and we're still pumping out great quality footage for you all. So that was your recap. Now we're kicking off the week. A lot of stuff has happened with the garden, and we're going to teach you how to up pot, the importance of it, and really what to look out for. Okay, first thing though, I wanted to show you all where we direct sowed some beets and carrots and radishes. So we're out here in the front where we did the kitchen garden area. Say hi, Ray Ray. Hi. There she is. So they are starting to sprout. I want to explain kind of what you need to do if you are direct sowing. When you direct sow, it's a lot easier because you just throw them in there and they grow up, but you have to do some thinning. If you don't thin, your fruit is not going to be very good. It's still going to be tasty, but it's going to be smaller because it doesn't have the room to grow. So I'm going to kind of show you what it is that you need to be looking for, and unfortunately the ones that you do need to pull. Okay, I'm going to use the radishes because they're the biggest, so you can kind of see them on camera. But we did, I think, 4 rows. Yeah, we did 4 rows of them, shooting down the beds all the way down. And you can see, no, there's 4. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. So when you do that, they're very small and you can start getting bunches of them like this. Now I've already kind of went and thinned some of these out. So like that one is a little close, and just think about your radish when it grows up. You want it to have room to grow. So I'm actually probably going to pick this middle one, and that will allow them to have enough space in between to grow a little breakfast radish. This is what you're mainly looking for. See how these 2 are right on top of each other? It's not going to work out well. You're going to have your radishes twisted together and they're both going to be really small. So just take the one that looks the weakest, pull it out from its root, and now that one will grow to be big and healthy all by itself. It's so hard to tell, but over here are a bunch of our beets. So we love beets. So this hoe bed and that hoe bed are all beets. And we're gonna be doing some canned. We love pickled beets. They're absolutely fantastic. So they are just now popping up. We'll give them a little bit longer before we thin them, just because they're kind of hard to see at the moment. And right here is the carrot bed with Ray dancing around. It did not do as well. We had some old seeds for carrots, and so our germination wasn't the greatest, but there's several that are still there. So we're gonna let them grow and we'll end up harvesting them as well. But I don't think we're really gonna have to, oh, you can throw that rock out, thank you. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about any thinning for these. And the potato bed is still doing its thing. Nothing has sprouted yet, which we didn't expect it to. We should start seeing that hopefully within the next week. Once we do that, we'll teach you how to mound up and keep mounding them so you can grow the biggest and most amount of potatoes that you can. And these onions are looking absolutely fantastic. It's not hot?
Yeah.
That's good. And the greenhouse is popping with all kinds of green. Man, these veggies are getting huge. We're actually about to start eating some of the Joy Choy. And that comfrey is getting bigger. It's almost time for its first cut. But the biggest reason that we're in here is those tomatoes are ready for up potting. This is our other round. They are not there yet. They haven't got the true leaves. Our peppers are out here doing really well. Say hi to the chick. So everything that we have started is now in this greenhouse, which is really exciting. I checked our weather and we're not gonna drop below like 40 for like the next 10 days. Now we'll still frost, that's still going to happen. But we have the greenhouse. We don't have that fear of having to bring all these in anytime soon. So we'll just keep monitoring the weather, but everybody gets to stay. And it's really exciting to see the greenhouse just popping with green. And especially after we thin these tomatoes, it is gonna be big amounts of green up in here. That's when you realize that you need a greenhouse this size, is when you start up potting, because it gets intense. Look at that bush of comfrey. Absolutely fantastic. Made the complete amount of abuse it took to get here, and it just came back stronger than ever. Looks great. Okay, let's talk about up potting. First off, your setup. You're gonna be here a while. Find you something that's slightly comfortable. Green, it's like 70 something degrees today. It's a very not normal, what is it, March? Mm-hmm. Yeah, March day. Ain't complaining, but it makes it a little hot to work in the greenhouse. So I got the sawhorses and an old table that was in the garage. Got us a nice setup outside. You want to get all your, we used, I think these are 3-inch, isn't that what the box says?
4-inch.
4-inch little pots. We get them off Amazon. We'll link them down below. They'll live in this until it's time to go on the ground. So you want to get all those ready. You want to get your markers ready. You want to have your tomatoes or whatever it is that you're up potting. And then we like to put our soil and fertilizer in some kind of tote so it's easy to scoop them up. Now, we throw about a handful of this 20-20-20 into this mix just to kind of help with the fertilizing, probably better to say. And then we still use our potting mix. We haven't had any issues doing it, so we still use the Black Gold seedling mix for up potting. They're fine until they make it out, at least for our experience. But when you get them in there, you want to wet it down, and you want to wet it to where you can clump it with your hand, but it falls apart. So you just kind of do a little bit, mix it around, check it out, and then add as needed. But you want to go ahead and have that soil moist before you start doing your up potting. And you don't realize how much water it needs. I mean, once it's dry, man, it just sucks it up. So I'm still pretty dusty. While I'm doing this, we just jumped right into it like you knew what up potting is and why you need to do it. So what is up potting? Up potting means going from a small seed tray or a small seed cell tray to a bigger one. Huh? It's dripping. That's okay. You do this because as your plants grow, they outgrow the size pot that they're in. And so if you're not ready for the ground, you need to up pot so they can get bigger and better and be ready for the ground. Once you do that, I mean, depending on when you started yours, you might have to go a size bigger than this. You can really just tell if your plants are getting really big. Think about a nursery when you're buying them in the pot that they're in. Judge it off that. but this is our only one that we do. We're gonna have to spread some of our tomato seedlings out, which we'll show you how to do that too without disturbing the roots too bad. But tomatoes specifically, you're gonna bury as deep as you possibly can because their stems grow roots, if you were unfamiliar. So once you have your soil nice and moist, you're gonna take your cup and you wanna kind of pat it down because the water's gonna shoot it down if it doesn't. Got a water leak. So you wanna pat it as full as you can, and then we're gonna dig a big hole and we're gonna put this tomato in here. So we'll do one and then we'll probably play y'all with some cool music while we do the boring stuff. Jen is going to walk you through putting one tomato in the seed pot. So what she's doing right now is she's going underneath the bottom, she's poking the hole through, and then she's gonna pull her tomato out. So it doesn't really matter if you don't have your root ball, you just want the roots themselves to stay intact. All right, so she's headed to her pot. She's burying it as deep as she possibly can all the way to the top because like I said, the stem will grow roots, so the deeper you bury it, the more root ball you'll have. And once she has it patted down a little bit, that tomato is done. Put the marker in.
Label. Always label.
Yeah. And set it in your container over. All right, one of many more to go. Side note, because I know this is big for Travis and his hospital seed trays. These are a little too wet. We were bottom watering and we didn't really know we was gonna do this today. Ideally, you would let this dry out a little bit and they will pull out much easier. So just an FYI, maybe when you up hot, don't water the day before. All right, we have gotten through 64 up potting. Now, one thing I wanted you to notice is your tomatoes may look like that after you do it. That's called transplant shock. It's perfectly okay. Just make sure they got water and just leave them alone. Let them be. They're gonna bounce back. Just like you, if you're uprooted and sent somewhere new, you might not be your best self at first either. Just give them a chance to get themselves rooted back in again and you'll be good to go. So we're gonna take a little break. We did maybe a quarter of this tray and we already have 70 plants up. So don't wear yourself to death. It's gonna, hurt your back a little. Take breaks, come back to it, take breaks, come back to it until you get them all done. There ain't no rush in this. That's why you get started early and you don't fall behind. The biggest thing is just making sure you do it. It's an important piece. If you were to leave them in those small trays, they're probably gonna die before you get them into the ground. It's just unfortunately part of it. The small cell seed trays are great to have, and they're great for starting seeds. You can start an abundance amount, but like I had mentioned in a previous video when we were planting those, gotta watch it because if you're doing 2 to 3 per little cell, you're gonna have about 300 tomatoes in one tray. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Don't overseed if you don't want that many, and just be prepared for the work that comes to it afterwards. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. Gardening is not one of those things where your greenhouse just does the work for you. It's not self-sufficient. You have to be the one managing it. You have to do the temperature control. You have to up pot, you have to weed. So gardening is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but if you put your mind to it and you succeed, the payoff is amazing when you actually grab your own tomato or your own any kind of vegetable that you're pulling out of your garden. I promise you it's worth it. Keep fighting through it. Just enjoy the sunny weather. Enjoy getting your hands dirty. Love y'all. Happy birthday.
Thank you.